I'm gonna share this screen. Okay, cool. All right, so I see a live button around the screen. And I'm just going to sort of bring you guys through a tour of what we're looking at here. So, as you know, with the HyperCycle network, um, we have what are called AIMs. AIMs can be AI models, AI machines. Really, at the end of the day, the AIM is a container. And within the container, we have a lot of flexibility to build really any kind of modeling algorithm or really any sort of service application. You can have applications handle appointment books for medical offices. You can have applications parse PDFs, filter them, and create meaningful outputs for other agents that might be interested in that data. You can have an AIM that is turning text into video. This is what we're going to show you today. You can have an AIM turning text into speech, into music. There's no limit. And so I'm going to kind of introduce you guys to one of the sources that we're using for this exercise. So if you notice here in this AIM builder, I'm able to give the AIM a name. I'm able to draw on different model names, and we're using Hugging Face models right now. As we're working on developing and iterating here on this particular AIM builder. So this would be like an AIMifier, is kind of what it looks like and kind of how it operates. It takes information and input from us, the AIM builder, and then it creates a project workspace. I'll show you what that looks like under the hood. And then we can actually build the AIM image itself and deploy it to the node manager. Okay, so we're going to kind of walk you through the steps of what that looks like. So in this particular case, what I did, since I'm using Hugging Face is a sort of global, worldwide, open source repository, if you will, for all kinds of models. So this is what Hugging Face looks like here, huggingface.co. And the particular model that I'm working with called Cog Video X, it's a 2 billion parameter model. So as you know, for example, with some of the other language models, you get these billions of parameters. Then the bigger the number, the more accurate, more efficient, higher resolution outputs you get from it, basically, more intelligence, I guess you can say. There's a bigger data set in the model. It's able to handle more streams and more complex prompts, if you will. And so this particular model here is the one that I'm pulling from in my UI here to get information about how to build the model, right? So what our model builder or AIM builder is doing is saying, what are the requirements and dependencies that this particular model needs in order to be able to generate video from a text prompt? And some of that information is provided down here. These are, for example, examples of videos that are made on text prompts. This is actually the text prompt right here that was given to the generator, and this is the video it made off of it. So it's just giving you little examples of it. These are all videos made by this video generator. Model introduction. So in this particular case, we're using this here, this Cog Video X 2 billion. I was playing with the 5 billion parameter, but what I noticed is that the size of that image and it was pushing my rig. And so I have more success and performance at this level here. But really, when it comes to building models, everything has to do with how much hardware you can throw at it. The more you can throw at it, the more it'll do for you, and the bigger these models get. So you have a limitation on storage. Some of these models are very large, anywhere from 10, 20, 50 gigabytes actually. When I built this 5 billion parameter text to video generator, it was like a 50 gig image. It was huge. But both of them are doing 6-second length films at 8 frames per second. They just have different ways of computing inference precision. So that has to do with the resolution and the accuracy of the prompt to the video that's generated. So we're here in this repo here, and these are the specs that we have for the video that we're generating off of this guy. So when I'm in my builder, I'm over here. I'm going to be looking at questions. You guys feel free as I'm moving along here in this presentation to ask any questions as I'm moving along here. So AIM name, in this particular case, I'm going to call this Cog Video X2 because I already got one in there. So this AIM name becomes the name of the AIM itself, and also the project workspace name that I'll show you here in a second. When I come down here, I already have some things that I've been working with. You can see this model here is the one that I'm interested in. When I put that into this field and I click here, it automatically pulls the model card down. So it's actually coming out here, pulling down this model card and telling me a little bit about it. It's using diffusers, safe tensors, Cog Video X. It's a video generation. It's using these repos, text to video, English, its license, diffuser categories, just basic model card type stuff. The builder is using that information in the background to create a pipeline to automate the creation of a name off of the model card's requirements. Okay. So in description, I can say whatever I want to say. This is my first aim for text to video at 49 frames, 6 seconds, and 8 frames per second, something like that, whatever you like. The other thing happening, I don't know how many of you know this, but for all the developers out there and people who are curious about authoring these things and actually creating these things, when we release this builder and you see it evolve and iterate and refine, AIM authors are in a unique position to earn royalties. So let's say you develop a name that the community really loves and deploys, and there's a lot of demand for it in the marketplaces, and you attach a royalty to it. Every time an AIM is called, you'll see a little percentage of that. Okay, and that's what you're telling the builder here. You're saying, hey, my name's Raymond, and yes, I would like to add a royalty. I'm going to add my wallet address to that, and I'm going to say that I want 5%. So every time a call is made, I get 5%. You can do whatever you want, 50%, however aggressive and greedy you want to be. Let's see, Ron, question: is there a way to enlarge your live screen? I'm going to ask Libra that. I'm not sure if there is a way for me to enlarge my live screen or not. Does that make a difference when I click on it, Ron? Is that better?
Am I coming through now?
Yeah, now you're coming through, Antonis.
I believe, Ron, if you close your chat, it will come out. It should come out bigger on your screen. I don't think there's a way to make one screen bigger. I'll have a look into it now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Robin said click on the screen. I noticed when I did that, it brought it into a larger screen format. And so I said, hey, I want 5% of every transaction that is calling this AIM. I think that's too greedy. You can make it 1%, whatever you like. And then I'm going to click generate AIM. And it doesn't really take very long for the builder to take everything that we've told it we want and get into what's called the pipeline resolver. So in the background, there are various modules that are looking at our inputs and saying, oh, okay, I'm going to build a workspace for this. So I'm going to come back here real quick now and show you guys what the workspace looks like, just to give you a little snapshot of what that looks like. And for you, those of you who are building things and getting into the, starting to look at how you're going to be building things, I want you guys to see that. Okay, so I'm assuming you guys can see the screen here. So the workspace that's generated by that particular project looks a lot like this. There's a Docker file. There's an app folder that contains the instructions for how the image is communicating to the node and what it expects the node to know about itself, okay? Might make the text on the screen, or the disc view is bottom up for me. And then you have a few other things like manifest, output, and requirements file. For example, if you look at the requirements file, these are all the different Python dependencies and requirements that are being used by this model that are required for this model to function properly. Okay, that's what it looks like here. The Docker file that's generated by this particular image kind of looks like this. I'm giving it a token because I'm downloading an image and I want the download to happen faster. It's up to you whether you want to put secrets in here, and there are other ways of handling that. These are the labels. So that label in the description that you saw in the UI, it turns into a label in the Docker. Other information about endpoints I want to create, system dependencies, requirement dependencies, and then these guys over here that generate the application that talks to the node manager. So that's what that looks like. Okay, after I've generated my workspace, I can actually build the image. Okay, and the way the image builder looks like, it is doing a couple things. It's doing a standard Docker build. That's what this is doing in the background. It's doing a standard Docker build statement. And I can also, after the image is built, push it to my registry. Now you notice I have a registry that is localhost here. I have a registry that I've created on my local test machine that allows me to iterate and run and test what these images are that I'm building. And to give you another kind of fresh look at what that looks like, here's the node manager you guys have seen before in other episodes of the Ops Corner. This is actually the AIM here that was created. And down over here is where I have my registry setting. So I can either have a public registry setting that's going to the official HyperCycle registry, and there's a process for getting AIMs in there, and then, or I can have one local. And as a developer, I'm going to have a local registry that allows me to create these images and test them and whatnot. So this is the AIM here, COG Video X. You can see my labels, what it's doing, the paid endpoints and the public endpoints. I also have a health endpoint here, and this is something that we're standardizing within AIM development space. If I click on this, it's just very simply going to tell me that my endpoint is up and that it's okay. This is useful for monitoring and making sure that your AIM is actually reachable. Just this one little endpoint returning this JSON is telling us that, and that's useful for monitoring purposes, and so that's why we put it in there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to push this one to the registry because I don't want to run out of space on my disk. These images are big, but I am going to just kind of show you what happens when I click build image. You notice here it's starting the Docker build. It's giving me a nice runtime log of all the steps it is taking to build the image, taking all my labels. Eventually, it's going to hit my dependencies, and here you go. It's pulling my dependencies down, it's running the lists. It's building all the packages, all the Python wheels. And you can see, here in a few moments, some of these are quite large, especially the CUDA ones, the NVIDIA CUDA GPU, saved tensors and diffuser logic and all of that. Some of those guys some of them are a gig or half a gig large. And so they take a little while to process and get through. So that's what this process looks like. I'm gonna let that run in the background. So one of the things that happens in the development space for HyperCycle when you're building, developing, running a node and whatnot, all of the AIMs that are being created don't come with UIs, right? So HyperCycle is not a front-end facing development company. What we're doing is we're giving you the infrastructure, the foundation for the Internet of AI. That's our job. Our job is to give you a foundation infrastructure for the Internet of AI and a way to monetize the deployment of AIMs in marketplaces for people who have demand on those things, and then the intelligence that the network gives us in the future, right? And the way to monetize that as an operator, as a licensed asset owner, et cetera. There's all these different tiers to that. So in order to make the infrastructure meaningful, you have to create a UI, right? A way to interface and generate outcomes and outputs from the machines that are being created. So I created a very simple UI because I'm in now the business of iterating and creating AIM. So I don't have time to make it pretty. I just need to get the wallet to connect. I needed to know that the AIM exists on the machine. I need to generate an output, wait for that to finish, and then get to the and get to the output and check it. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to connect the wallet. It connects to the wallet. It looks at the node manager that it's connected to, and it says, "Oh, cool! I see there's an AIM in the deployment list of this node that's available. AIMs discovered. You see that right here." And then this is my generate input box. So I'm going to go ahead and take Azaline's cool little prompt that she gave me earlier.
There is one in the chat as well if you want to try that one after.
Yeah, I do. Generate a video of a lion and elephant sitting together at the VA waterfall. Nice. Ronald, I can't wait to see what that one says. Okay, so I'm going to generate this. These take a few minutes to generate, so we'll let it run in the background and then see what it looks like afterwards. I'm going to click generate here. That's going to talk to the AIM. It's going to verify that I'm a user, give me a nonce, and it's going to go into a generation process. So to take a look at the generation process, I come back here and I say, all right, so what's happening? This is a kind of a way to monitor the GPU and what it's doing, and its activity level. So here, for example, at the very top of the screen, you see the GPU model that I have. Here you see how much RAM is being used by this process of generation that I just issued, how much GPU, memory. And then this here is the amount of memory that is available here at 15, about 16 gigs, and how much is being used. And then you see this sort of graph of the interplay of the GPUs, CPU, and memory usage, and how they kind of play together in the image, in the generation of the video, which is what's happening right now. So this is going to happen for a good 8 to 10 minutes or so, depending on the complexity of the prompt and how long it takes it. It's pulling images off of repos and, you know, doing its cool dance of text to video that it does. I'm also curious what's happening on the machine level. So these are all the processes that are running within this particular node. This is how much memory I'm using right now. So a typical node within the HyperCycle ecosystem is using about a gig to a gig and a half of RAM just to say I'm a node. No AIMs are deployed. Everything's just chilling, and it's just at about a gig and a half. Notice I'm here about another 7 gigs on top of that. So this particular AIM is utilizing that much memory in its process, in addition to the memory that it's taking with the GPU. And then any of this other activity that you see here is actually a couple of things happening simultaneously. Don't forget, I do have the AIM builder that is still running in the background. That's taking about, let's say, 60 to 70% of that CPU that you see there. The rest of it are offloads happening from the way that the AIM is generating text to video. Most of it is handled in the GPU, but some of it has CPU offloads depending on where it's at in its process. So you're going to see some of that activity that's taking place on the CPU here. I've got, how many cores do I got? I got 15, 16 cores on this particular rig, and they're busy. They're building an AIM in the background, and they're also handling CPU offload for this for the GPU process that's taking place. So you see here, this guy's busy as well. He's still generating that file. What I'm going to do now is show you what a video looks like when it's generated. Waiting here. Okay, so this one here, this is not the video that Azuing asked for. This is one I did earlier. This text prompt was a golden retriever running across a grassy field toward the camera with cherry blossom petals blow through the air and the sun flickering through tree branches with a warm sunset lighting. That's the prompt for this video. It's a 6-second video, and this is what the video generator created. It's very consistent. So what I noticed is when I throw the same prompt at the generator, it creates the same video, which is interesting. Find out about the variations and whatnot. So this is a 6-second length video that was created by this generator on a previous prompt. Looks like Robin's chiming in. I'm gonna take that one and put it in there as well, Robin. These are all really good tests. So I'm just keeping track of what requests are coming in here. Okay, so we're waiting for that other model to function. In the meantime, I'm going to show you guys something else that we've done here. So one of the things that people in CBNO are starting to do, and I've started to do myself, and anybody can do it, right? Because it's an open network and all the APIs are open. As soon as we publish information, more information about what these APIs are, and how to access them and how to communicate with them, you'll all be able to do the same thing. That's already happening in CBNO, and that's going to be documented very soon. So you'll have a larger development community that can come in and start doing stuff like this. So what I did, I made this myself because I was curious about what was happening on the network. And what's happening here is I'll go out and do a network scan against all the nodes that are reporting themselves. You can have a node that doesn't report itself and it won't show up in this list and it's still doing things. But if you want to interact with the blockchain, you want to report yourself into each block, you want to be part of the hash and the computation and the reputation score and all that stuff that's happening in HyperCycle, there's a reporting process that's happening within the node. And that reporting process is happening here. This right here is telling the network my IP, and it's telling it my port that I'm communicating off of. That's what this guy is doing right here. So when I come in here and I do a scan, yep, got a message from Azuli. When I come in here and I do a scan, it's telling me the IP of the node, what country that is in by a geo-IP location process in the scanner, which is these days a lot more accurate than it used to be. Before, you never knew, but I noticed the geo-IP location database has gotten more accurate. What network it's on, we do have two networks. You do see some testnet activity down here. What license is activated on this node, and this will bring us straight to the Explorer. So this is the license that this particular node manager is using. It's got a 98% uptime. This is actually a hyperbox, and it's tilling itself. This box is tilling its own license. Is what you can do when you're running your own nodes. And this has a very high uptime. Those H boxes are great for tilling. That's the truth of that. If I come here and I click on this link, this is going to show me a lot about what this box is ready to do for HyperCycle. It's going to tell you if it's alive, where it's at, what name it was given, what version of the node it's running, what the hot wallet that accepts payments for work to be done. So if you want to do work on an AIM that's deployed and you build the UI for it will respond to you. You're just talking to this endpoint on that network and saying, I would like to utilize this AIM with my UI, and you start working. In future versions of Ops Corner, we're going to have CBNO participants deploy AIMs, and we're going to create a UI that talks to each of those so you can see how that happens.
So that would be node-to-node communication.
Yes.
That would be.
That's where you start to see it. And that's manual. You can have one AIM do all of this automatically and talk to another node, and they start gathering intelligence off of each other and start working together on a task. Right. So now what you're starting to see are the mechanics behind how that actually happens. So coming down here, you can see the platform. This is an HBox. It's an ARM64 architecture. And you can also see I have a AIM I'm developing for another project here. It's called a Vibe AIM. So this AIM here is available, and it's available at this port. So if I created a UI, I would talk to this particular endpoint. I would say, I would like to utilize this AIM. How much does it cost? Give me a UI, and I'm going to start using it. And you can do that with the information that's presented off of a scanner like this. Okay. The other thing coming off here are GPU counts. So for example, if we're looking at different endpoints on the network, if they have GPUs or not, what GPU model is associated with them, what AIMs they have deployed, and what their node uptime is. That's what all this is telling us here. All right, so I'm going to come back over to what's happening. This guy's still running in the background, doing his thing. This is one of the ways when you are testing models, one of the ways you know if your model is too aggressive and too much for your hardware is you will see this memory here will spike, hit red line, and then you'll see this a process crash over here. It'll just drop. Now in this particular case, eventually what I've noticed about model generation in this particular AIM, toward the end, that this is generating 49 frames and it's creating an MP4 video off of it. toward the end of the generation process, I noticed the GPU, the CPU of the GPU and the RAM usage, they start to converge more in this graph, and then it drops off and it's finished. So that's one of the things happening there with this particular process.
The AIM Builder
The AIM
UI,
Builder.
Raymond, that
It's
this.
done.
When would this be what the developers and companies will be using as their aimifier to aimify their AI agents? So this is a very early version.
This is a prototype for the aimifier for Hugging Face models. So newer versions of this, as this iterates, are going to be more elaborate. So there'll be a drop down that says, are you pulling a Hugging Face model? Cool. Are you generating an AIM from scratch? Do you have your models? Do you know what your cost is? And then it builds the manifests that appear here. So really what this is all about is getting the process to automate for you this project space. Once you get this project space, this is your basic standard project space for an AIM. Once you get something to generate these files, now you have a way to aim. That is aimifying. What you're doing is you're saying I am using this particular Docker technology in my node stack to deploy a model on my network. It's using a standard template, which is Docker based. Once you understand how to build this workspace, which is what the aimifier essentially does, it takes all your inputs, it understands how HyperCycle's node manager and stack is built, it merges those two in logic and creates a pipeline that allows you to build the AIM, and then you have an AIM that you can deploy. So yes, it will be automated. The final automation is from idea, input, generation of workspace, building of AIM, push the AIM to a registry that's public, and now it's available to every single node on the network. Once that thing hits that public registry and or you can change it to whatever registry you want, now you have a way to deploy the AIM and monetize its service immediately. That's an immediate monetization action that takes place there. Okay.
So not just big companies or enterprise, anyone sitting at home.
All right, cool. This guy is done. You generated a video. Let me see, make sure that is the correct one. It's just finished. Okay. So for example, notice I'm copying this thing. So I can tell the UI to do this for me and give me a download link. That's just a few, another hour of work or something. So at some point, the UI does that for you. Okay. I'm going to come over here, duplicate this. There we go. This is so cute. Asleen, you have to tell me what you think of this. Wow, that is so cute. Look at that freaking crazy cyberpunk collar it's got.
Yeah.
It clearly pulled in the cyberpunk HyperCycle green. The resolution on this dog is actually really impressive. Ernie at work. Does it look like Ernie? That's so cool. Patrolling the network. Yeah, he's smelling for the scammers and the hackers and all those guys. And the next prompt is going to be teeth show. Awesome. That's so cool. All right, I didn't get a lot of prompts, so I'm just going to do all of them. I know we don't have enough time in this call to get them all done here, but I'm going to do Ronald's next. Where are you? Bom, bom, bom. All right, bang. Generate, confirm. Okay, it's doing its thing. So that is Ops Corner for now. So what you've seen here is a prototype for the aimifier. This is just a UI that I've created to take all of the logic of the aimifier and bring it into a UI. Anybody can do this. You can build whatever version of it you want, but ask whatever questions. But in future versions of Ops, you're going to see this refined. It's going to be creating models that have more inputs. So instead of fetching a model, it's going to ask you more about what you would like it to be, and build it based on that. You see what we're pulling from. This is the Hugging Face model repo. There's a lot here. There's all kinds of text to speech, text to video. Pretty much any kind of model you can imagine is here. It's basically like a GitHub for models. Here's the node managers you're familiar with. This is the AIM that was deployed by this AIM builder. This is our UI that's taking in generate input with the wallet to generate the AIM. This is a few examples of the videos that are coming off of this text to video generator. And this is a dashboard for some activity that's happening on the network. And
Ron asks,
kind
what
of
does it
information
cost
we
to
could go to.
generate these videos? Ron asks, what does it cost to generate these videos?
That's a good question, and that's really the kind of question that the node operators within CBNO and anybody else that's running a node, right? We need to start asking ourselves. So the way I would go about answering that question is I would first look at the hardware that I'm running my generation on, and I would first look at how many watts of power am I using for how many minutes of time. Once I understand watts of power and minutes of time, which you can actually generate an AIM that does that for you, or within the AIM that is doing this, it actually can track its own cost. You just have to know how much your electricity costs, okay? Once you know how much your electricity costs and how many watts of power a generation costs or is taking, you can generate that into a cost. Once you have that cost,
Sorry,
now you can factor in all kinds of things like you still there?
Yeah, you're back now.
Okay. What was I going to say? I'm going to take off the video here. So that's the way you go about it. You need to know what it costs in watts per minute to do the work that you're asking the node to do. And once you understand what that is, and you have a measure of what the time is for the generation of that work, now you know what it costs for, let's say, a 6-second video, which is what these videos are. You can say, oh, the 6-second video costs me 2 cents. Who knows? It's not much, I'm sure. Whatever it is, that's your cost. Plus, you're a node operator, so you can pay yourself, whatever time you need to pay yourself to make sure that things are working and you're monitoring and things are plugged in and all the different things that you're wanting to do to make sure that you're a reliable node operator. There's a cost attached to that. And then, of course, as you saw earlier, you have the royalties that are attached to the AIM and that are coming to you every time an AIM is called. The costs for an AIM are coming here. You can define your cost here. So, for example, I can add a cost of I would want to do USDC. I can do a cost. This is decimal. So if I do 1 million,
Your screen's off at the moment.
Oh, sorry. Let me bring it back to you. So, for example, I'm here in the node manager, and I'm down in my paid URIs, these paid endpoints that you're manifesting to the node manager from the AIM. So the AIM is telling the node manager what its endpoints are, which are public and which are cost endpoints. You can define your cost as a node operator. So in this particular case, I'm saying, hey, I want one. So it's decimal to 1 million. I want $1 for every call being made for AIM for text to video generation. And then I would click update cost, and then it updates the cost, and it subtracts that from the balance of the node in your UI.
You've got a question, Ray. Do you agree with what Toothy said in the 3D Capital video? So I think she means the interview Toothy done recently, that being a skilled node operator could earn someone really big money. Like it will be a multi-million-dollar career in the future.
Yeah, I think you're starting to see why, right? So really, at this point, the way to make the reason that something like that is possible is because you have control over the whole stack. I don't know, a lot of for those of you who have been with us for a while, if you recall, I'm going to bring up an old video here, an old picture. Give me a second to dig this thing up. It's been around for a while. We used to use it when we were talking about how much money we might make and who makes how much money and all that fun stuff. Yeah, there it is. Okay. I'm going to bring this up for you guys to see here real quick. So this is an old image, okay, and it's a projection made I don't know, a year or two ago at least, but this is probably 2 years old. Right now, yeah, it's been around for a while. Right now, the only thing that you're giving up as a node op, let's say you own the hardware, you're the author, you're generating the aims, you're doing everything. You have the whole stack. The only thing you're giving up is 1% to HyperCycle. That's it. Everything else is yours. All this other stuff here becomes yours. If you're paying a node operator, now you're going to start giving them location energy and hardware cuts. But these percentages are arbitrary. You can make these whatever you want. These are just out there as an average for people when we were starting to look at how all this might actually play out. But you can see that the money that you're making in the share of each transaction across the network has to do with how much of the node you're actually owning. Okay, so Robin says exactly the skills you need. I am just starting to realize. Okay, so skills. Let's talk a little bit about that real quick before we wrap this session up. Obviously, there's a lot of different skills that we just demonstrated to you. What you're also seeing is the automation of a lot of these steps, right? So as this network evolves and this community matures, at some point, there's a marketplace that is automating almost all of that for you, okay? The only skill that you need to have is the ability to turn on a computer. If you want to be a node operator that owns the hardware, turn on the computer. You're in the CBNO program. You have a guide that tells you exactly how to deploy the node and how to manage it and how to handle it. And then you advertise your capability to the marketplace. The marketplace has a demand on your capability that is intrinsic to the marketplace. That's what the marketplace job is doing, is making sure that there's a supply-demand channel happening between the AI generation tasks of the marketplace and the capability of the network to perform that work. So all you're doing is advertising your capability to the marketplace. You have an account that's subscribing to that marketplace, and voila. You're just going to see income coming off of it. Whenever your node gets hit for work, based on what the marketplace is doing, you'll start seeing income across your node. That's one version of it. If you're a developer building an AIM and you are deploying the AIM to the marketplace for others to use for their work, and you attach a royalty to that AIM, now you see that's another source of income, the royalty off of the usage of the AIM, right? If you're a developer and you're wanting to build applications, you're gonna be seeing more of what I've showed you in this ops corner. You're gonna see the different levels of the build stack, the pipelines, the considerations that are being made for how this actually functions, right? So it really depends. The more of the stack you own, the more money you make. And if you're in the right marketplace and have the right contracts, you're gonna make a ton of money. And yes, you can make all that really big money, because there's a demand for it. And if you're able to meet that demand in a cost-effective way that's visible and it's easy to advertise and it's easy to create demand for, bang, there you go. So HyperCycle is really just a engine. It is a stack. It's a vehicle that you've been given that's still running off what I like the way Robin puts it, freedom tech. And those are still a lot of the governing principles within the technological architecture of this particular ecosystem. So that's out there, but you can also participate at the same time in marketplaces that have a demand on things that are being authored here. So I hope that answers that question. Freedom tech. Yes, we need it. Because at the end of the day, you know what we know what a lot of the. I remember I had a mentor. I'm going to detract a bit here. I had a mentor at one time who was involved in very high levels of government and was also a Hollywood screenwriter. He did Fifth Element and Highlander and Aliens and all that stuff with Cameron and Sigourney Weaver and all that fun stuff. And I would sit down with him in his library. He had a photographic memory. The guy read 5,000 books. And I'd be basically just talking to an encyclopedia that was alive in front of me. And after a while, one of the things, the last things he told me, the last time I talked to him, he said, Ray, the world is run by about 10,000 people. That's not a large amount of people for a planet holding 8 billion people. So our sovereignty, our privacy, are very, very important. And I think a lot of people are sort of losing a grasp and a grip on just how important that is in the emerging technological world that we're going into. Our privacy is very important. Our right to rebel against authority that is not serving the population is very important. And the only way that you can rebel is if you have privacy to come together and create that kind of a movement. So you want to make sure that you have tech that's capable of supporting you in that. And that, to me, was what Freedom Tech is. Freedom Tech makes it possible for sovereignty to reign, for you to protect yourself against other agencies and other technologies that are basically just trying to put you under 100% surveillance and ultimately control. Energy goes where attention flows. So if you have any controlling entity that is controlling your attention, they're also controlling your energy. And that's game one at the higher levels. So we just got to prevent that from happening as much as possible. And that's what I see Freedom Tech is all about. It's our ally in making sure that we have more control over that than they do.
And this technology you have, the nodes, you have just one node and you have no skill set, so no previous skill set, you still have something very powerful as part of a collective. And the other term, we have Freedom Tech, but we also have hacking into Moloch, because you'll have noticed HyperCycle's inviting everyone to join in this Internet of AI. And we're doing that through incentivizing, because people like money. We're not using the stick to try and fight these 10,000 people. We're using the carrot. Come join us. But once you're on the network, a node is a node, and everyone is on a level playing field. Everyone. I would say.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we want to do, man. We want to level the playing field as much as possible. And I think one of the things that sets HyperCycle apart, I think, we've essentially inserted a monetization layer in the compute demand. There's a ton of compute demand out there. Like if you look at OpenAI's Microsoft architecture with Azure servers and everybody else and how they're doing it. In those cases, those corporations are taking all of that. Now imagine the same power input size and scale, except at every compute demand, you have someone in the decentralized community seeing a piece of that revenue. That's what HyperCycle's done. They've inserted a decentralized community and monetized that so that anyone who participates in the way that we do with our assets can see revenue from all of that activity. And the projection is that activity is wealth creating. It creates new wealth here. We're talking trillions of dollars here in the next decade. So that's really, if you look at what HyperCycle's done, is it's made it possible to monetize the compute demand at an individual level and also at a business level. You can turn your node factory or Amphi into a business itself and have a rev share and a distribution, either from the contracts themselves through the DApp or through the node manager. There's a whole piece in there as well. I do have the video. Ronald, are you still with us? It generated your video. I don't know what to make of it. Only you can tell me if this is right. Okay, there we go. There's no sound to these videos. This is just video. Okay, let's see. It's the right one. Here we go. Some weird stuff here, man. I don't even know what I am seeing there, Ronald. You have
That
to tell
reminds
me
me of
if this.
those. Remember those old weird 70s cartoons?
Yeah, man. Like
When they were, I think they were
it's like
tripping on a lot of acid and they used to create these weird abstract cartoons.
this is super abstract, man. This is like Picasso on mushrooms. Like I'm trying to understand what's happening.
I don't know.
Yeah, anybody want a heavy metal? Yeah. Ron gets it, maybe.
He likes it.
It's like a heavy metal scene. You can almost hear the music. Ronald saying sort of. Sort of.
The lion looks like an elephant. Yeah, I thought that.
The lion looks like an elephant. I definitely does. So you have a lion input in there? These
Yeah,
all look like these really
they
like
look like
this.
two elephants.
Generate a video of a lion and an elephant sitting together. Yeah, it didn't seem to know. I would say it kind of made them both, but I noticed that the elephant on the left has some weird deformities that are probably coming in from that input. Toasting on 2026 with champagne, watching the fireworks. Yeah, you have to work on that prompt maybe, or understand better how the generator handles those things. Yeah, so Ronald, let's stay in touch on the CBNO side. This is this is something we can. I'm going to create a public CBNO AIM building registry that we can mess around, basically a playground for this. And then that way we can push our images up there, and then we can each other play with them and start hitting each other and creating our little cluster networks and whatnot. That's the way to do it at this point. There's some filtering and security around getting aims into the hypercycle registry for obvious reasons. We don't want things going in there that hurt the network either. So there's still some things that need to be done to get the deployment of aims generated by the community into that repo. So in the meantime, we're going to have our own little repo that we can build and deploy with and have fun with. All right. Well, that pretty much concludes this ops corner. Is anyone else have any questions? Anything else they're curious about?
There's one coming from Dave Peck.
You're welcome, Rudy. Thanks for being here. Thanks to all of you guys for being here, participating, following us on this journey here. What a journey, 2025. Oh my God. I can't even imagine what this next year is going to be like. Appreciate that feedback, guys. Thank you. Yes. Thank you, Azuline. What would we do without Azuline? This team is we all work very closely together. It's one of the things I love the HyperCycle team, by the way. We are very close. It'll be really interesting to see what happens as we grow and expand. Happy New Year. Here we go. It's coming. It's just a couple days away. Yes.
Let's make 2026 the year of Renaud.
Group hug. Can't wait to do some conference where we all get to yeah, I was just gonna say Robin's always on it. I'm looking forward to a conference where we all get to hug each other and smell each other. Do the human animal interaction. So no, we haven't yet. Everything's been virtual. Cool. I can't wait. Some of us have. Some members of the HyperCycle team have met each other through different conferences that they've been at. Yeah, Dave. Don't take, we all got to have our pheromones. We're advertising our capabilities. Pheromones is how we advertise our capabilities.
Crypto Minion, can Node factory owners donate Crypto Minion, can Node factory owners donate their nodes to CBNO group to give extra capacity? Yeah, there's
we
people.
can talk more about that, Crypto Minion. There's the best way to do it. It depends on what you mean by that. If it's just hardware or the nodes themselves, the licenses. But yes, the answer is you can do both of those.
Yeah, and the CBNO
That's not pretty good, by the way.
the CBNO isn't just about building for the people in it. They're building for everyone. All, I think is it 1,500 node factory owners? Yeah.
Is that what it is? There's a lot.
It's about 1,700. I think the early adopters is about 1,400, and then there's 300 that's come along in the last couple of months. But I think they're all sort of big entities. So yeah.
Yeah, we've got a lot. We got plenty. What we're doing now, I mean, you see the focuses here within this Ops Corner episode and future episodes is really starting to demonstrate capability, use cases, and let people start really getting their feet, hands, everything wet, so they understand, how do I start building? How do I start creating use cases? How do I build a marketplace or become part of a marketplace? That's what it's all about now. So you can see there's a lot of capability here. This is just one model of many that are out there. And Hugging Face is hundreds or thousands of models that do all kinds of different things. I'm just trying to make it easier to automate the process of aimifying those.
I think there's about 70 aims in the registry, and there's about 1,900 in development. If you go to Toofy's video, the last one we showed the marketplace. Yeah, it says in the description there, we're at 70 now, working up to 1,900. So, and it won't even, there'll be many more than that. Many more.
I tell you what I'm really excited about. One of the things, and what we've seen, the Mosaic project that's been mentioned a few times out there. I don't know how much you guys in the community have seen it or what you've been shown, but when I see that, I'm like, that is just by itself will put a lot of our nodes to work because it's very demanding. It's a very demanding compute base and project, multiple phases. And it needs all the help it can get to work efficiently. HyperCycle is well positioned to provide the power and infrastructure for something like that, and that's what's happening. It's a good partnership that Toofy's working on there. So I can't wait. 2026 is going to be the year we see that in action. It's really the year where you start seeing more of the rubber hit the road, and hopefully more smoke. People toasting each other. All right. Love you guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year. Yes. We'll see you guys really soon.
Take care. Cheers, Raymond.